This happened about 5 years ago. During my first year of college, I lived in a small apartment complex, just outside the city, 15 minutes from a big Target store. At the time, I didn't have many friends in the area, so weekends were groceries, errands, and a lot of late-night streaming. It was a Friday evening in early autumn. My roommate had gone home for the weekend, so I had the place to myself. Around 9 p.m., I decided to make a quick Target run before closing. Just snacks and laundry detergent. The store was almost empty. Just a couple of late-night stragglers, wandering the aisles, passing through electronics. I noticed him. Tall, lanky, red Target polo, khaki pants, stocking shelves without a name tag. Odd, but I kept walking. Dark hair, pale skin, and those glances. Not the "can I help you" kind of look. Longer, colder. I paid for my things, walked out to my car. The lot was nearly empty now. I loaded my bags and caught movement in my rearview mirror. It was him, stepping out of the store. No jacket, no cart, nothing in his hands. And he wasn't heading toward a car. He was walking toward me. I started my engine, backed out fast. He didn't run, but his eyes stayed locked on me until I turned out of the lot. I told myself, it's nothing, just a weird coincidence. Around midnight, I was on the couch. Lights off, except for a small lamp in the kitchen. My apartment was ground level. Sliding glass doors leading to a tiny patio, and a strip of grass to the parking lot. The blinds were only half closed. Then I heard it, a faint tapping. I muted the television. Tap, tap, tap. Slow, deliberate, like fingernails on glass. My stomach dropped. I turned my head toward the sliding door and froze. Through the narrow gap in the blinds, I saw a sliver of someone's face. Even in the dim light, I recognized him instantly. The guy from Target, standing just feet away, peering into my apartment. We locked eyes for half a second. Then I jumped up and yanked the blind shut. My hands shook so badly, I almost dropped my phone. I called 911, whispering to the dispatcher. Someone is outside my patio door. She told me, stay on the line. Move somewhere safe. I crouched in the hallway, listening to footsteps on the grass, fading away. By the time police arrived, he was gone. They searched the area. Nothing. I barely slept that night. The next day, I drove past Target. He wasn't there. I never saw him working there again, and he never came back to my apartment. To this day, I have no idea how he knew where I lived. Now, I keep my blinds shut every night, and I never go to Target alone after dark. I used to work at Target a few years ago, but not as a cart pusher. My job was on the closing shift in the electronics department, which meant I'd often be one of the last employees in that part of the store before we locked up for the night. It was an early November Wednesday evening right after daylight saving, so it was dark as a cave outside before my shift even started. We weren't exactly bustling that night, just a steady stream of customers, finishing up their layaways for TVs or video game consoles. Around 9:30 p.m., about half an hour before closing, I was straightening up the video game aisle when I noticed a man in the corner of my eye. He was standing at the end of the row, not looking at anything in particular, just watching. He had on a gray beanie and a heavy winter coat, zipped all the way up, even though it wasn't that cold inside. He didn't have a cart or basket, no bags in his hands, just standing there. I asked if he needed assistance locating something, but he didn't answer, just slowly walked by me towards the compact appliances area. I assumed he was shy or didn't hear me, so I returned to my task. 10 minutes later, I went to get some returns from guest service and saw him again. This time around the closed Starbucks coffee shop near one of the entrances. The inside was dark, with nothing inside except empty chairs and tables. But he was sitting at one of the tables, elbows on the table, head tilted slightly, glancing toward the cash registers. By 9:55, we'd started the closing announcements. Most customers were checked out, and the remaining few were heading toward the registers. I was pushing a load of returns back toward toys when I spotted something that immediately made my stomach drop. He was no longer in the cafe. I turned into the corridor leading to the storeroom to put away a return drone, and froze. About 20 feet down the service corridor in employees-only territory was the same man, standing. No confusion, no sign of being lost. Just waiting. He didn't speak, and neither did I. I slowly backed out to the sales floor and went straight to my manager, who was making her nightly rounds. I told her exactly what I saw, and she followed me toward the back. When we reached the hallway, he was gone. We began checking the stock corridors, which are much narrower and higher than those on the sales floor. Moments later, we heard movement, faint footsteps, then the creak of metal. My boss called out, You can't come back here. Only employees are permitted." His voice came back low and sharp. "Keep looking for me and you'll regret it." We froze. My manager kept calm and said, "All right, we're leaving now." And we backed toward the door. She immediately got on her walkie-talkie, ordering all guests out and the front doors locked. The police arrived within minutes. They searched the back for nearly half an hour before finally bringing the man out in handcuffs. He didn't have a gun, but he had a crowbar hidden inside his coat. Even now, I don't know if he meant to rob the store, hurt someone, or something else entirely. All I do know is that the image of him standing perfectly still in that dim back hallway will stay with me forever. This happened maybe 8 or 9 years ago, when I was in high school and had just gotten my first part-time job at a local Target. My duties were mostly cart duty and occasional floor cleanups. The job wasn't bad, the staff was cool, and once you learned how to dodge the managers, nights were pretty chill. It was late November, just before Thanksgiving, and the store had begun its extended holiday hours. I was on a closing shift during a dead silent Wednesday evening. Most customers had left by 9 p.m., and the remaining ones were scattered around the store. That evening, my task was to clean up the back area, restocking a couple of sections, and picking up return merchandise from outside the fitting rooms. I liked closing shifts in the back aisles because they were peaceful, and I could listen to music through one earbud as long as no one was nearby. While rolling the cart toward the back left of the store past home goods and into the section with storage doors and custodial supplies, I walked down the hallway leading to the employee-only stockroom and break room. I'd been through this hallway countless times, but that night I noticed something strange. The storage door marked Storage 3B was partially open. This door was always locked, and even my manager once joked that nobody had a key to it. Curious, I stepped closer. The light inside was on, revealing shelving units and cleaning supplies. It was eerily silent until I heard a faint scratching sound, like something sliding across cardboard. Then came a whisper, deep, breathy, saying my name. Hey, I assumed it was a prank from seasonal workers and said aloud, "Very funny, guys." No answer, just more scratching. That was enough for me. I turned and pushed the cart away quickly. As I rounded a corner, I nearly bumped into Josh from electronics. Seeing my face, he asked if I was okay. I said something about strange energies in the back. Then he asked, "You were in that back hallway?" I nodded. He frowned. "That door's been closed forever. It's pitch black in there." I looked back. The door was now shut tight, and the light was off. No sign it had ever been open. I avoided the hallway after that unless I absolutely had to go. Months later, I overheard an older overnight worker talking about how, years earlier, someone got trapped in an old stockroom during a blizzard, back when the building had different management. They were stuck for over 24 hours before being found. When I asked if it was the same room, he said, "Don't mess with 3B, kid. That one stays closed for a reason." To this day, I shop at Target sometimes, but I never walk down that hallway. Even recalling that whisper still sends shivers down my spine. I once worked late shift at Target, predominantly in electronic sales. It wasn't a bad job. Quiet evenings, for the most part, after 9 o'clock. A couple of last-minute shoppers would buy phone chargers or video games, but overall, it was an easy gig. I worked for roughly a year and genuinely enjoyed it. But one evening, however, continues to make my skin crawl. It was mid-November, just after the store had switched to its extended holiday hours. I was straightening the shelves near the TVs when I noticed someone standing at the very end of the aisle. He wasn't looking at anything, just staring in my direction. He was tall, wearing a gray hoodie with the hood up, and had both hands shoved deep into his pockets. I figured maybe he was just killing time while someone else shopped, so I went back to work. A few minutes later, I saw him again. This time, he was standing in the video game aisle, still not touching anything, just watching. I walked over and asked if he needed help finding something. He didn't answer, didn't even move. After a long few seconds, he finally shook his head once, slowly, and walked off toward the small appliances section. I attempted to brush it off, but how he was moving, it was creepy. About 10 minutes after that, I saw him again, but this time he wasn't alone. He was creeping around the end cap by the laptops, and I am convinced that another guy a couple of aisles away was doing exactly that same thing. Both of them would be gone as soon as I took more than a step toward them. By this point, I was glancing down at the sales floor and up at the clock, wishing it would hurry up and get closer to closing time. Then I heard something, a soft tapping on the glass of one of the display cases. I spun around and saw the man in the hoodie, crouched down so his face was practically against the glass, looking directly at me through the reflection. His hands remained in his pockets. I asked my manager via walkie, but when she came into electronics, he was once again nowhere to be seen. She asked me to hang out around the register until we closed. A couple minutes before we closed the doors, I spotted him once more standing just outside of the sliding glass doors, peeking through the windows. No bag, no shopping cart, just standing. We locked up, and security escorted me out to my car. The parking lot was fairly deserted, but there was a dark sedan parked all the way in the back with its headlights off. I drove home quickly that evening, glancing in my mirrors the entire time. I never saw him again, but for weeks afterwards, I couldn't help but feel that he was out there, waiting. Aside from that one evening, working for Target was just fine, but that shift lingers in my mind as the creepiest time that I have ever experienced working. This happened in the summer of 2019. My friend Lucas and I were driving from Colorado to California for a week-long camping trip along the coast. We wanted to take the scenic route instead of the fastest one, which meant long stretches through remote areas and small towns. We departed in the early morning so we could break up the driving over 2 days. Lucas got us underway first while I attempted to sleep, but between the curves of the mountains and the trip excitement, I didn't sleep at all. When we traded drivers at a rest stop, it was mid-afternoon, and the sun was already going down behind the hills. A couple hours later, in one of those small towns you drive through in under 2 minutes in Utah, we pulled into a gas station. While we refueled, an older white pickup truck pulled in on the other side of the lot. Chipped paint and a tarped bed secured with bungee cords covered his ride. The driver, a middle-aged guy with an old baseball cap, didn't emerge from the truck right away. Instead, he simply sat there and stared in our direction. I wrote it off as small-town eccentricities, but it still bothered me. We bought gas, got some snacks, and hit the road again. 10 minutes later, I glanced into the side mirror and saw that very same white pickup truck a couple of vehicles behind. Likely nothing, I thought. We were on one of the only roads going west. But as soon as we passed another slower vehicle, the pickup passed it as well and remained the same distance back from us. An hour into our drive, we hit a fork in the road. Our path turned left towards an increasingly remote stretch. I assumed that would be the end of it, but in my mirror, the pickup's blinker indicated left as well. By now, the sun was gone, and our headlights were cutting through empty blackness. Every few minutes, I'd glance back, and those same headlights were there steady, unchanging. Lucas was beginning to notice it as well. He said I needed to go a little faster, so I sped up. The pickup also accelerated. We braked. It also braked. My stomach was all twisted up. We decided to make a quick stop at the next gas station just to see if it would keep going. When we finally spotted one, it looked like it had been there since the 72nd 2 pumps. Dim yellow lighting, surrounded by nothing but desert. We pulled in and I started pumping gas, pretending not to watch the road. Sure enough, less than a minute later, those headlights appeared over the rise. The truck pulled in, idled for a second, then slowly circled around behind the pumps. The driver still hadn't gotten out. He leaned over and said quietly, "Let's go." We jumped back in the car, but before I could even put it in gear, the pickup lurched forward, cutting across the lot to block the exit. My heart was pounding. The driver's door swung open, and the man stepped out, no smile, no words, just walking straight toward us. There was no way I was waiting to see what he wanted. I cranked the wheel, swerved around the back of the pumps, and shot out onto the road. In the mirror, I saw him run back to his truck and get in. He tailed us for the next 20 minutes. At times, he'd fade back almost into invisibility, and then increase his speed until his headlights illuminated my rear view. At last, we came to an intersection with a broader, busier highway. I made the turn non-signaling, hoping to shake him in the traffic. As I glanced back a couple of minutes later, he had disappeared. We never saw the truck anymore during the remainder of the trip, but the memory of that man walking towards our car in the middle of nowhere still lingers within me. I have absolutely no idea what he needed, yet I am certain it wasn't something nice. And now, on every road trip that I embark on, I am more aware of the vehicles behind me than those ahead of me.